Okay, so today let's talk a little bit about public liability insurance. What is it, and who uses it, and how it can help you in your business. All right, so first things first, what is public liability insurance? Now, public liability insurance basically is a commercial insurance used for businesses or by businesses, and it's basically an insurance against third-party injury that is caused by your negligence. And when I talk about injury, it is basically bodily injury. Okay, so let me give you an example of how the policy works and the coverage works. So let's say, for example, you operate a cafe, right, a coffee place, and it was rush hour. You spilled some water. One of your staff spilled some water on the ground, and someone slipped and fell before you could clean it up. There is an element of negligence there, right? Number two, there is injury. That means bodily injury. So in that case, your public liability, if that person sues, you would actually have to call on your public liability insurance to cover you. So that's one example. Another example I can give you is in the event, let's say, car workshops, right, where they hoist up the car, and basically a customer comes over, has a look at his own car while it's hoisted up, the part falls out, there is negligence on your part, and also there is injury. So in that case, what happens is that if they take legal action, your public liability is something that a coverage that you can depend on to cover you. So generally, public liability insurance is suitable for businesses where you conduct events, number one. Number two, it is also suitable for companies or businesses where you basically have walk-in customers, where tenants or customers, they walk in, they basically see you, and you want to be protected in case of, let's say, as a result of negligence or so-called negligence, they get injured, right? And they take legal action. All right? So remember two things: negligence, number two, bodily injury. I also want to talk a little bit about injury, because for public liability, it covers for bodily injury. Now, there is a difference, okay? I want to talk to you a little bit about bodily injury first. Bodily injury, the definition is that it has to be something that is physical. That means they fell, they broke their arm, they broke their leg. It is clear there is a bodily injury present. The public liability covers that. Now, there are also, of course, other types of injury where it's mental anguish and so forth. Remember, those type of injury does not count as bodily injury. So the public liability coverage does not cover that. Right? Very important to take note. So another thing to take into consideration is that you may feel that sometimes you may not need, let's say, a public liability insurance and so forth, which you are probably right. However, you have to remember, in many cases, if there is an allegation, it is just an allegation, right? Because they still need to prove that there was negligence at play and they injured themselves and so forth. They will need to prove that. However, in the event if there is an allegation, right, and you know that you have done everything reasonable, that means there is no negligence on your part and you can prove that you have taken all reasonable steps basically, you still need some form of defense. That means we're talking about legal defense, legal costs, and so forth. Now, the good thing about it is that public liability insurance can also pick that up, right? It also covers defense costs. So another thing to take into consideration is that for public liability insurance, it also helps you cover the cost of settlement. What does that mean? That means in the event you have to settle, right? What happens is that the public liability insurance will help you cover that. So X amount depending on how much you are insured. So to summarize it, public liability insurance covers on negligence on your part against the public, negligence and bodily injury, these two elements, right? And it also helps basically with your defense costs on allegation and also settlement. So these are things that are important. Who is it for? As I mentioned, if you are conducting events, right, in the premise, and you are also having walk-in customers or guests or so forth in your premise, you need to consider using a public liability insurance. So let's talk a little bit about the cost, right? How much does it cost to purchase public liability insurance? So at the time of this recording, now it's January 2023. Basically, when you are, it depends on how much you insure, of course. So the range, and it goes anywhere from a couple 100,000, let's say 500,000 or 1 million, all the way to 3 million, 5 million, so forth. But I think let's use 1 million as a benchmark, okay? Because 1 million I think is comfortable. You have to remember, at least you need to have enough money for defense costs, settlement costs, right? And so forth. And lawyers' fees and all that, so forth. So I think 1 million is a good start. Right? I think anything a bit too low leaves you a little bit exposed unnecessary, because the good news is that public liability insurance is not very expensive, to be honest. So even if you look at, let's say, to cover you, let's say 1 million ringgit, right? You can probably do it for most insurers, depending on insurers, of course. You can probably do it for less than 2,000 ringgit, right? Depending on the insurers. And of course, if you want to cover for, let's say, 3 mil, 5 mil, all that, it's a couple of thousand ringgit. So affordable to most businesses out there, even for small businesses, right? This one you would have to speak to your insurer or speak to anyone that deals with this sort of products. And if you need more help and more information and assistance in this area, you're always welcome to visit our website at www.coverbuddies.com. Number one. Number two is we also have a live chat on our website. You can also leave a note. You can also basically book a call back from us. We'd be more than happy to call you back and try to answer and assist you in any way. Till next video then.